Whoo boy, fresh off of a 3-week hiatus from doing a scotch and a beer. Feels good to be back. A lot has happened since then. I went on a little thing called Drift Week. You may or may not have heard of it. If you didn't, go check out the playlist here or here, where a bunch of idiots drove across the country doing stupid stuff at 7 different tracks. I imported a driver from Japan, I almost died twice, and I had the best 2 weeks of drifting, hanging out with the best group of people that I could have asked for 2 whole weeks. Now that I've been back for a couple of weeks and caught up on all the stuff that I missed while I was gone, it's time to start getting back into scotch and beer. It's time to jump back into the drama festival that is my life. For those of you that are new to this channel from Drift Week, welcome. It's nice to have you. Appreciate you subbing. I basically release these videos every single Monday and or Tuesday if I'm too lazy and don't get to it on time, where I regale the tales of old, starting from the beginning of my drift career leading up to my current life, which puts us smack dab at the very end of 2013 at SEMA, where I left off last time. But in this episode, I'll also go back over a couple of happenings right around that time period. And then in the next episodes, I'll be jumping way back and going to different things like Spotting for Danny George, All-Star Bash, and the No Coast Drift Party 3, just to name a few. But first, a special scotch and a beer. Technically this time it's a bourbon and a beer. So a buddy of mine was rolling through Albuquerque, needed a place to stay, crashed out in our spare bedroom, and he was kind enough to send me a whiskey as a gift and a beer as well, which I have already cracked open and drank some of. I wanted to try it beforehand. But thanks, Anthony, for this. You're the man. That's very, very appreciated and means a lot to moi. So he sent me some Kansas City, Missouri Boulevard Brewing Company Space Camper Cosmic IPA. And it's actually not that bad. I'm usually not a fan of IPAs. I think they taste like pine trees, but this one's actually a lot more mellow and therefore drinkable. I can definitely dig it. Now, he also sent me a Willet bourbon whiskey. I don't normally drink bourbons, but this one has been aged a little bit longer than most bourbons have. It's a small batch type of thing, and I am definitely liking the presentation. I am a sucker for a cool looking bottle. And this one definitely wins in that regard. Now I did a little bit of reading and it said to use ice with these. So it smells like vanilla and it smells like pecans. And that's the only 2 flavors that I get out of this through my nostrils. So let's give it a try. Absolutely not bad. Like I said, I don't normally like bourbons, just they're young and they're very potent and they taste like alcohol. This one is very smooth. The alcohol does kind of overwhelm those smells that I got at the beginning, but this is a very sippable bourbon. So thanks again, Anthony, for doing that. You're the man now. Now, in the last episode, I'd given a company named Connexions with an X an exorbitant amount of money to solicit sponsorships on my behalf, up to and including SEMA. Now, after a week of being at SEMA, being drunk and partying every single night, waking up hungover super early in the morning, waiting in lines to do basically everything, and then hitting the floor running, trying to sell my soul for cold, hard cash money. Needless to say, it was draining. My soul was haggard, my body was haggard, and my mind was probably the most haggard of all. Not to mention, I was out of clean clothing and had somehow lost a shoe on night 4. Finally left SEMA after what had seemed like a goddamn eternity, and I returned home with a pocket full of hopes and dreams, aka a stack of freaking business cards. Now, based off of previous experience and from what other drivers had told me, it was best to wait at least a week after SEMA to begin begging for money and thanking people for their time. You don't want to just rush them while they're still getting back into the grind of things and sifting through the thousands of emails that they'd probably missed while also being drunk for an entire week. And that's okay. I had the big things covered. I had all the sponsors that I had from before already on board with my program. Plus, the biggest important one was Hankook Tire with Paul Joe. So again, thanks Paul for letting me be part of the Hankook Tires drift team. Stoked. Now, I was really interested to see what $10,000 worth of paying somebody would do for me at the largest automotive show on the planet. Well, after 3 weeks of not hearing anything from my agent, it turns out that $10,000 in cold hard cash would net me absolutely zero sponsorships and or money. That's $0.00 of sponsorship money to help my drift program. That's right, Connexions with an X, aka Bob Walker and Matt DeLauder, had net me exactly 0 sponsorships, 0 prospects, and $0 for the low cost of $10,000. All of this being at the largest automotive show on the entire planet with 2 large selling points, that being running a full season of Pro 1 and Pro 2 competition, as well as filming Motorcycle vs. Car Drift Battle 4 right after FD Miami. I was at a loss. I honestly was like, how you could accidentally get me sponsorships. I accidentally got myself sponsorships at SEMA. I could have given the $10,000 to a homeless guy and he would have got more sponsors than Connexions with an X. And I bet I could have given any of you that are watching this video $10,000 and you could have gotten me more sponsorships in these tools. That $10,000 could have went so far in my drift program it wasn't even funny. I mean, at this point, because of that, I was basically saying I need to give up a round because that's about how much each round was about 10 grand. And now I was 10 grand in the hole, so therefore one of the rounds was going to have to go. I just didn't know which one yet. So now we're at the end of November, almost into December, 4 months away from Formula D Long Beach, and no money's coming into the program. I am now coming drastically close to having to pay Connexions with an X another $5,000 for absolutely nothing. So instead of being a responsible adult and calling and talking to them, I basically just ghosted them like they were some girl I met on Tinder. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to fast forward a bit to immediately after Formula D Long Beach. And I'm going to read you the email transcriptions that conspired. So Matt had written me immediately after Long Beach, A, asking about the payment for December and January, to which I had missed, and B, asking how things were going. So I responded as such, and I'm just going to read this because I don't want to memorize it. I said, things have been absolutely crazy the last few weeks getting the car prepped and ready for Formula D Long Beach, and I wanted to chat with you about some thoughts that I had, mostly on the negative side of things. The bottom line is this. After experiencing the real-world costs of one professional drift event with zero financial help, I think without even paying your $5,000 and putting it towards the program, we will only get to Florida before my money is out. Sad face. I do still have some things to sell that may make me enough money to get us to New Jersey, but after that, we will be dead in the water. The car took a lot more of my 401k than I had anticipated, plus I ended up having to prepay all of the events, the practices, getting the team hard cards, etc., 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 which added up to a lot more than I thought it was going to be. Let me know what your thoughts are if you have any ideas that can help, aka getting us sponsors. We have a capable car and driver now, we just need the funds to make this season work. Did you ever hear anything back from anyone? Would anybody be willing to title sponsor us for enough to get us through the season? Thank you, Dan. To which Matt responded, we have all put considerable time into your program, and as everyone agreed from the start, there were no guarantees. It's a tough spot to be in for sure, and believe me, I feel for you. Bob said that he'd be willing to give you 50% off your last few months' payments. Would that work? All I could muster to write back was, LOL. And that was the last communication that I sent to Connexions with an X. The next thing I got was a letter in the mail threatening a lawsuit for the lost months of revenue that they did not receive. Again, I tore the letter up and I threw it in the trash. That was the last time that I heard from Connexions with an X. So now I'm 10K down, which is a $300 and something a month car payment that I really didn't need at this point because I had no income. And I'm possibly going to miss out on at least one round of Formula D competition because of it. And that was all I had to show for hiring an agent. Lesson learned? Do this yourself. I wish I would have just stuck to my guns and not been convinced to get a goddamn agent in the first place. If you are a driver and you are serious about competing in any motorsport, not just drifting, you have to be good at this part of it. This is 80% of being a professional driver is soliciting, maintaining, and keeping sponsorships, keeping people happy, getting more money as things go along, working with the companies to do things for them, to get more in the next season, etc., etc., etc. This is a huge part of becoming a professional driver. If you are not good at this, you will fail. That's just how it is. And if you're not good at this part, you'll fizzle out just like I did. So study up, watch videos, read books, look at blogs. There's tons and tons and tons of information out there on how to do this well. I had not read any of that stuff and just jumped in head first and basically did it into an empty pool. In my humble opinion, you should start this at your local series. Go to local companies, tell them how you can promote them, tell them what you can do for them in return for a very small amount of their time and or money to help you out. This teaches you how to maintain relationships and how to start them in the first place. So as you grow through your drifting career, you just go to bigger companies that have more resources and or money and or time and or products to give you. So starting that early in your drifting career will really help as you move through Pro-Am and up through Pro. So definitely start doing that as soon as you humanly possibly can. Anyway, now that that's over with and you've learned to stay away from companies that spell X's for C's, I'm going to go over a few random happenings plus the very, very, very humble beginnings of my Formula Drift car build. Now I'm going to start with soliciting sponsorship from GK Tech Australia and this kick-ass video that we made.
My name's Officer Dan, formerly with the High Plains Police Department. PD for short. I'm here today to talk about a couple of throwdown parts I received as parcels in the mail. These here GK Tech knuckles.
I'll drop the link to the whole thing in the description below. Now we had reached out to GK Tech and said, hey, we'd love to do kind of a product video for these new modular aluminum knuckles that came out, and they were kick-ass at the time, and we thought that we could do a really good job promoting it, which we did. The video slayed it. jwoodmedia.com, aka Jesse Wood, once again showing that he was at the top of his game even before he was done with freaking school, secured me sponsorship for Formula D 2014. Now, this is a very, very important happening as it would go super south before it would actually get better after Formula D, but that's for another video altogether.
On top of that, they've got these here inserts that insert here. See what I did there?
We had also filmed a Harlem Shake video with my main sponsor at the time, Motiva Performance.
Con los terroristas.
Because that's what all the cool kids were doing, and hey, who doesn't want to be a cool kid? I'll put the full link to that one down below as well. It's kind of ridiculous. I just ran around and humped everybody. Cheers to that. Now, per my blog, we officially started my Formula D car build on December 18th, 2013, aka the day before my birthday. We spent the entire day stripping every nut, bolt, piece of plastic, anything that was attached to the car was now off of the car. It was up on jack stands and looking naked and alone. For the next week, we would be removing all of the sound deadening. This time we used dry ice and it worked like a charm. We were able to find big sheets of dry ice at a local supermarket, put those down for about 35 minutes, then just tap it with a rubber mallet and they all came up and you grabbed them, put them in a bag and threw them away. It was the easiest time I've ever had removing sound deadening. Even though I still hate it because this was my third time doing it and I never want to do it again. Now the next week of work would include removing a ton of metal off of the car. Now by a ton of metal, I mean exactly 38 pounds, which is what the wheel wells, the rear fenders, and the spare tire tray in the back actually weigh. So you're removing almost 40 pounds of material if you take all of that stuff out. After all of that stuff was off, we sent her out to a media blasting company for her to get media blasted down to bare freaking metal. Sick. This once dirty chassis was now looking pretty clean. It got off that extra 30 years of schmoo that had acquired on it over the years. Now here's where things slowed down dramatically and where sponsorships can actually put you in quite the pickle. Now I'd been working with a lot of these companies from the past, from 2012 and 2013. I had set my deadlines. I said, guys, I really need everything by November, December at the latest. It's now December 28th and I have absolutely no parts for this car. So we spent the time doing everything that we could, removing more pieces of the car, including back halving it, cutting it off where the frame rails basically come out, and taking the fenders off back there, making room for the fuel cell, which was also yet to come in, and stitch welding the chassis, making any modifications that we could, kind of just twiddling our thumbs until stuff started getting there. It's now January 21st, and the only thing that has arrived is the body kit that I paid full price for. So, like kids on Christmas, we rushed to open everything and got it installed within 15 minutes of opening the boxes. We were stoked. It fit well, it looked great, and it was kind of renewing our sense of, hey, this is actually going to work. The car actually looks great. We have nothing on it or in it, but it looks cool, and we're stoked on that. Now the guys from Car Crafters got to fabbing kind of a bash bar that fit inside of the bumper, and we were trying to figure out the rest of the fab work we needed to do, but again, we were stuck because we had no parts. Now I posted the pictures of the first test fitting of the body kit on January 28th, 2014. It's now way less than 3 months to go until the first round of Formula D competition in Long Beach, and we have fenders and side skirts on. That's it. And that is where I'm gonna end this video. It's gonna be a short one, but hey, I just need to get back in the habit of doing these. I'm already late as it is. I've already recorded one hole without the sound, but I will release this today. I just don't know at what point. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And in the next episode, I'll be kind of jumping back through 2013, going over the No Coast Drift Party 3, going over All-Star Bash, and finishing up the last couple of rounds of FD, spotting with Danny George. Then I'll be getting into jumping into my first Formula D competition in Long Beach as a professional driver. I love you all. Stay frosty. Officer Dan, out.